Hey everybody, Ben and Beta here, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about one of the things I like to do on the weekend sometimes, and that's wash my car. And I'm actually going to do a little bit of a review on this SunJoe SPX 2700 Max pressure washer that I got from Sam's Club about 1.5 years ago. I like to wash my vehicle fairly often. Whenever it gets dirty, I like to try to keep it clean, so if I can wash it on the weekends, I'm going to do that. When we go out overlanding, when I get back, I usually want to try to wash it like the next day at the very latest, just to try to keep things clean. I've also taken the time to coat my vehicles in the past. I just want to make sure that they look good and that they have a good return on value later on if I want to trade them in, that kind of thing. Some people love to wash their vehicles, some people don't, but I kind of like to do that. It's something I like to putter around and do. So I can use a garden hose, and I have in the past, and that works okay, but obviously a pressure washer is pretty good. And one of the things that I have stumbled upon on YouTube many years ago was Pan the Organizer's detailing channel. And he does a fantastic job of going over all the different types of products that you can use on your vehicle, and I have definitely taken his recommendations on several things in the past. So I definitely recommend checking out Pan the Organizer if you want to learn more about how to detail your vehicle and like the plethora of products that are out there, as he tries pretty much everything and does a really good job of going in depth on how things work. I also recommend I'm Josh V. He's also a fantastic detailer, and he does a lot of videos on multiple different products too, often on the lower end of the spectrum for people who are more like me. I'm not a professional detailer. I don't want to spend $1,500 on a pressure washer and $150 on a nozzle and so on and so forth. So he details in his videos all different types of price points on different things that you can use for cleaning, maintaining your vehicle, that kind of stuff. So I recommend those two channels. There are many more, but those are the two that I watch the most often. But check them out. So like many people, I went out and purchased a pressure washer that I thought was a good value. I found this one at Sam's Club. It was $120 on sale and $150 normal priced. And it came with a ton of different accessories, which we'll go over in a little bit. I've had this one about 1.5 years. Previously, when I lived in Wisconsin though, I also had a SunJoe pretty much exactly like this one. And I had that for multiple years and never had an issue with it at all. It worked perfectly. It just so happens that as I was filming for this, I ran into an issue, which we'll talk about. But first, let's talk a little bit about what you get for your $120. There are a lot of pressure washers out there in this price point for sure. And this one's pretty good in terms of value for all the different things you get with it, but there are lots of other ones that are a little bit more expensive that might last you longer or might be a little higher quality, come with some different components, that kind of thing. But in general, these are all kind of similar, I think, in this price point. And this one would just happen to be on sale and had some of the things that I wanted to be able to use on my car. One of those is a foam cannon, and I didn't really want to have to pay extra at that time to get a different one. So I picked up the SunJoe SPX 2700 Max from Sam's Club, and I got a few things with it. We definitely got a manual, and there's lots of instructions on how to put it together, which I found pretty simple. Just a bunch of screws into some plastic, no problems there whatsoever. And it details also all of the pieces that come with it. So you get your wand and you connect your water hose here, your high pressure hose there, and then accessories go here, as well as some of the different tips can be attached to the end. One of the things about these lower end units is they often are all plastic and they have proprietary connections. And this one does too, so you actually have to kind of, it's not super easy, but you're able to take it apart. So now I have the extension, I can take that off. And a few times when I've connected accessories like the foam cannon to this and you think that they're in there, they're sometimes not, and then you go flying out the end, and then that can break your foam cannon, which happened to my last unit actually. I did that on accident and had to buy a new foam cannon. But you know, again, for $120, getting all the things that you get with this is not too bad, and it does work just fine. I've never been able to not get something off my vehicle when I needed to, including bug guts. So like, I think for most people, something in this range is just fine. So that's what you get kind of as an accessory for the wand piece. And then you have the unit itself, which is about 17 pounds and has a 35-foot cord. It comes with a 20-foot high pressure hose, simple on and off switch. Down here on the bottom, you have your garden hose connect, and it comes with this quick connector. This works pretty good for the most part. These sort of twist anti each other. And there is sometimes getting my hose off that I end up just having to take the whole unit off first and then get my hose off. That could be, maybe I just need to put on some Teflon tape. So I'll be doing that in a little bit just to see if that makes a difference. But overall it works good, connects to my garden hose just fine, and have no problems with that. Then you've got your high pressure hose connector. This I do struggle with often. It just doesn't seem to thread the way I would like it to, and I do take off my hose most of the time in between washes, especially if it's colder out. I try to disconnect everything just to make sure it's gonna last for as long as it possibly can. According to like Josh V, they basically say that these units are rated for about 100 hours of use. And at first you might think that's not very long at all. But when you connect the unit, it's not constantly running. It only runs when you're actually pressing the trigger. So when you break that down over washes, you may be using it for 20 minutes a wash at the very most. So that's probably a couple hundred washes that you can get out of this unit before you would need to replace it. And for the price, that's not too bad. You can definitely get something more expensive, like an Active 2.0, and that'll be like 250 hours of use, and that might last you your lifetime. Hard to say, but so far, the unit itself has worked just fine. I have had a couple times where after I start washing, within the first couple minutes when I'm pressing the trigger, I just don't get no water out of it, but the unit is running. So I don't know exactly what's going on with that. That's happened a few times, but then the water always comes back out and it works perfectly after that. So I don't know if it's just cycling through the system or what, but I have had that issue a few times. So you're getting quite a few accessories with this unit for $120 on sale or $150 not on sale. You get a wheel and tire brush. It also comes with a soft brush if you want to use that. These both do attach to the wand. I have never actually attached them to the wand. I just kind of use this actually as my wheel brush most of the time, to be honest with you. And it's worked pretty good. This will be good for dirtier things, maybe when I get the truck. But yeah, I don't really connect it at all. I just dump it in the bucket, rub it on, and just kind of go from there. And that's been fine. So then you have your nozzles, which you've got a 0, you got a 15, you've got a 40, which I use most of the time in my car. And then you've got this turbo nozzle thing, which I've never used at all. Something's going on in there, not sure what, but you have it. So if you need to spray off something like a concrete or something, I guess you'd use that, or the 0. I mostly use this 40 because I don't want to take the paint off my car, and it does just fine. So this is the 40-degree tip. Yellow is 15. Red is 0. Here's that problem I talked about sometimes where it runs and I'm not sure why. And then if I just run the trigger, it seems to work okay. So that's what it sounds like when that happens. And then lastly, we have this super wand thing here. Again, I've never really used this one, but you know, it's fine. So that's what the tips look like when you use them, what they put out for spray. Below that, you have your foam cannon. So let me pull this guy out of here. To be honest with you, the foam cannon that comes with this works pretty good. You can adjust this from 0 to 45 degrees in terms of the angle for the foam. I haven't really played with that very much, but I have adjusted the soap all the way up. And it is pretty easy to use. You just put your soap inside of here, just like an ounce or so, fill it up the rest of the way. Twist this on, put it on the end of the gun, and things generally work pretty good. The only thing I would say with this is it is all plastic, so how long it'll actually work, I don't know, but so far it actually covers the vehicle in snow foam pretty well. But again, everything seems to work pretty good. The electric piece here has GFCI built into it, so I guess that's nice if it ever has some sort of an issue and you don't end up burning up the unit. But that's kind of the basics of everything that comes with this, but that brings us to the part that I have the most frustrations with, and that would be the hose. So this is a 20-foot hose, which is not very long. In this sort of time-lapse video, you can see how many times I've walked going back and forth to try to get around the vehicle. And that was the same story when I lived in Wisconsin with the SunJoe. And then you can also see that this is about as flexible as this hose is. If you went too much more than this, you would definitely kink it. That's a problem. Also, as I said before, this is just really hard to get to thread properly onto the unit. So this has been a pain, and you can kind of see in that video that when I first started the wash, using this hose that it took me quite a bit of time to actually get it on. But some of the biggest issues have to do with how this attaches to your wand. I don't love the fact that it attaches to the front. It gets in the way a lot. I would really prefer if it was in the rear. Last weekend was in the 50s and I decided to wash my car. I had driven it to Wisconsin and back. It was pretty dirty. It needed a wash. In the middle of the wash, the O-ring broke and it started spurting out water everywhere. So I could probably get a new O-ring for this pretty easily and it would probably work just fine. When it is connected and working, if you're just somebody who washes your vehicle like once a month or something like that, this setup is perfect. For 120 bucks, you kind of get everything you need to do a really good job. As far as the cord length goes, 35 feet I think is plenty long for the most part. I've not had any problems with either that in Wisconsin or here in Colorado because I'm able to get enough to get around my vehicle without too big of a problem. So that being said, I had decided to kind of upgrade this a little bit. Not the unit itself, but the experience. And that's where I'm Josh V and Pan the Organizer's channels kind of came in. I started looking at how they wash cars and some of the tools they use, but I also didn't want to spend a ton of money. So I went out and I purchased a few different accessories. One of those is a FlexZilla 50-foot hose. This is supposed to be ridiculously flexible and should never kink. I'm excited to try this out, so that should be pretty fun. And the fact that it's 50 feet means that I will probably never have to move my pressure washer once it's connected. That's gonna save time, it's gonna save wear and tear, and it's gonna make my life a lot easier. So I'm excited about that piece. So along with that, I decided to upgrade my experience with the wand as well. And you can see that this attaches at the end and it swivels, so this should make my life a little bit easier. This is a yamatic K-series. The one thing I was kind of concerned about was how I was going to do some foam work, but this one happened to come with a foam cannon. While this is maybe not the most expensive or the best foam cannon in the world, I can tell you there is a massive difference between the build quality of these two. So I'm excited to try this out. Haven't done that yet. This weighs significantly more and it's definitely more metal, but it should make it really easy to connect to the yamatic system and continue washing more quickly than having to disconnect this thing, turn it, make sure it's in, and hope it doesn't go flying off the end. So I'm excited to try this out. You can kind of see the difference between these two wands. This one is heavier than this one, I can tell you that. And you can see kind of the big difference here of how this works, where they attach and then how much smaller this is. I'm gonna be excited about this as well because that extra attachment on the end often makes it kind of difficult to wash my vehicle. It's nice to get to some pieces, but you're so far away from everything, it's just kind of weird. So I'm excited to see how this works out. Also with this yamatic system, you get new nozzles, and these are supposed to be higher flow nozzles, so they should actually put out more water, even at the same angles. I don't know how they're gonna work, but we'll give them a try. These are easy and quick connect as well. They actually should work on both systems, so we'll see how this goes. And then that brings me to the last piece that I purchased as part of this to try to, again, upgrade the experience, and that is the yamatic comes with some quick connects and some different ways to connect to your pressure hose, depending on what kind you have. But I definitely wanted to quick connect everything because it does take a while to screw all these things on, so on and so forth. So I wanted to be able to quick connect my hose to everything. And in order to do that, you can buy these nifty quick connects. And also don't worry, I'll have links to all these things in the description so that you can check them out if you want. The one thing that's really important to note about SunJoe is that it uses a different connection type here. It uses 15mm connections when most of these other hoses and accessories and some of the other pressure washers use 14mm, which meant I had to get 2 adapter kits to make this all work. These are about 10 bucks a piece, so it's not terrible. That's how I'm kind of upgrading the experience for the SunJoe. Would I recommend this system? Yeah, I would. So if you're somebody like me who doesn't really want to have to go to a car wash and pay the money for that, wants to kind of spend the time and take care of their vehicle yourself, I think the SunJoe makes a lot of sense. I'm sure other things work even better, but this has worked just fine, and I think it would work fine for anybody else. I will have an update video about how things go with these new components to just see if it improves the experience. So I hope this was helpful for you if you're in the market for a pressure washer. Hope it was interesting. If you can, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Remember, live your life in beta, and we'll see you next time.